And tonight we continue our look at issues surrounding homelessness in Tucson. The city says it's a growing problem it's trying to tackle with no clear answers and limited bed space. A Tucson city councilman says it's time to try something new. News 4 Tucson's Eric Fink explains.
The Wildcat Inn here on Oracle is a homeless shelter the city of Tucson oversees. There are few rules. People can bring their pets. Couples can live together. Right now, there are 45 beds here. City Councilman Steve KOZACHIK says there are more than 3,000 people living on the streets in Tucson, and he wants the city to back his idea, a different concept to housing the homeless.
They are already living in tents. They are already living out under the stars. They are doing it in a very unsafe and unsanitary condition. We need to embrace the reality that we don't have the rooms. We don't have the space. It costs millions of dollars to provide that.
Councilman KOZACHIK and his staff say the Housing First model, one that finds temporary housing for some of the chronically homeless, works if you have the room. KOZACHIK and his chief of staff say the city simply doesn't.
Consistently every day we get reports that say we have no beds available. So how can you, when we have 3,000 to 5,000 homeless people, how can we say housing works if we have no place to put them?
What we learned through the pandemic is that there are far too many folks who are one paycheck away from absolute crisis.
Sarah LAUNIUS leads the Community Health and Safety Wellness Program in the city of Tucson.
Housing First is an evidence-based approach that tends to be 85% successful for folks who are experiencing chronic homelessness. It's not going to always work 100% of the time, but more often than not we see success.
LAUNIUS argues the city needs to focus its resources in a certain area.
We believe as a city that the most sound investment for us to make is in actual brick and mortar infrastructure.
We simply don't have enough housing, so why should we leave them in circumstances that are awful for them and awful for our community?
So the Ward 6 office is pushing controlled encampments the city would oversee.
We're looking for a pilot project where there would be 2, and we'd probably have 12 to 15 people in tents, and we would control them. We would have sanitation, we would have dumpsters, we would have clean water for them, and the police be able to monitor them.
We are spending the money anyway with TPD resources, with code enforcement resources, with sending people in hazmat to go and clean the areas up. Let's do it in a controlled space.
Right now, there are no plans for the city council to discuss the prospect of controlled encampments. KOZACHIK says he's willing and waiting. In Midtown, I'm Eric Fink, News 4 Tucson.